There was no sad boy vampire until Anne Rice. They were like sexy evil monsters.
Mm-hmm.
But she made them like philosophical, complex, tortured anti-heroes. And I mean, we love a tortured anti-hero.
You're listening to Books We've Loved from NPR.
The book show where we reread old favorites and tell you why they still matter today.
I'm Andrew Limbong.
And I'm B.A. Parker.
What's up, Parker? How you doing?
I'm good, Andrew. How you doing?
This book has got me riled up.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
I know. We'll get into it. Here with us to talk about Interview with the Vampire by the one and only Anne Rice is Barrie Hardymon, longtime NPR editor and PCHH panelist. What's up, Barrie? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Well,
you just said.
I'm riled up. I'm riled up. You've read this book before?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. Are you a Rice head?
So, no, I discovered the Anne Rice on my parents' bookshelf. Like, we had a book club copy of Queen of the Damned, and everybody said that it was going to be sexy. So I read it, and it was, like, not that sexy. You know, so, like, in my, like, middle school, high school experience, it was very much part of a sort of a gothic moment for me. Bronte, Daphne du Maurier. So it was of a piece for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just a sad girl in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Yearning.
That's me. I was a sad girl in a haunted house.
Love it.
Yeah, all right. For folks who haven't read it, I'm just going to run through a very brief synopsis. And just a disclaimer for this episode, this book, and therefore our conversation, will discuss sex. But all right, so this book is structured around a journalist interviewing a vampire. The vampire in question is named Louis, who goes through how he became a vampire. And a lot of it is centered around his relationship with a vampire named Lestat, who is the one who turned him, as well as Claudia, the 5-year-old girl vampire that they take care of. And this family dynamic is happy for a bit, but it doesn't last long. I'm going to yada yada over some of the spoilers, but it does end up with Louis pretty much on his own.
All right, now Andrew, why did you pick this?
Okay, I feel like we're in a vampire era currently. I was reading The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, which is like a horror book that is about vampires, but a very different interpretation of vampires. And I was listening to Stephen Graham Jones do an interview, and he mentioned Anne Rice because he was teaching a class on vampires. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I think also that same month I watched Sinners. And then also around then, my editor, Megan, hit me up and was like, hey, there's a Twilight anniversary coming up. We're entering...
And you were like, oh, I have it in my calendar.
Yeah, it's already here, yeah.
Like, it's that time of year already?
Yeah, you know, the air was getting colder, right?
Saw some leaves in the ground. I was like, it's time.
Haley Williams has a new song out. You know what I mean? The whole vibe is coming up, the whole thing. And so I was thinking about... I'd never read Interview with the Vampire before. And I had this sense that it was like a central text to how we in our common era perceive vampires.
Yeah.
And I wanted to find out if that was true. And I think it is. I think for a couple reasons we'll get into later. But I also thought it was really good. I loved it. I'm
so glad.
I was munching through this whole thing. I was like, okay, you're making a face, Parker. Did you not like it?
I liked moments. I liked glimpses. I liked the first part. It felt like a cohesive story.
A narrative,
and then it gets away from us. Yeah. I think she personally bit off a little bit more than she could chew, but she was also processing a lot. So I respect the journey.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess I'm the only one who encountered this for a second time.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, oh God, I love this book. I can't wait. And then I was like, oh God. Okay, Louis. All right. Okay. You're just sad. You're sad.
Wait, how old are you?
I was like, excuse me.
Sorry, man.
Well, let me put it this way. This book came out in 1976, which was the year I, too, was made. But I will say that I thought they were awesome, and I was feeling myself and, like, discovering eyeliner.
Yeah. And
so now I'm just like, oh, boy, Louis, we get it. You don't eat humans. You eat animals. You're that girl. We get it. You're sad boy. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of problems with Louis. However, I kind of went on to read the next two, which I do remember loving. But the first one, as I said, I encountered was Queen of the Damned. And there are other books in this insane, epic bunch of books, universe that are, and mainly the thing with Interview with the Vampire is it's world building. And if you're interested in the world, great, and that's fine with me. But I don't think it is the strongest of her work, but everything that made her who she is and that made vampires in the popular culture what they are, everything is in it.
Well, speaking of the world building, AMC is doing a bang-up job building out the Anne Rice universe on TV.
Yeah.
The Interview with the Vampire show is getting really great reviews. I checked out a couple episodes.
It's excellent.
It's also very, very graphic. I'm clutching my
sweet.
pearls.
Finally, I've been looking for that.
Wait,
Have you not seen it?
No.
It's sexy. It's hot. It's romantic. It's violent. It's got all of the things that I will say. My main context for Interview with the Vampire. I mean, I'd seen the Neil Jordan, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt movie.
Have you said your goodbyes to the light?
But my main context is the TV show.
What rage you must feel as you choke in your sorrow. The first time I laid eyes on you, your beautiful face, I saw that sorrow. I did not know how it got there or why. It was so voluminous. I can take away that sorrow, Louis.
I love the show so much that last year I went to New Orleans on a vacation and I walked around the French Quarter and looked at spots that were mentioned on the show. I'm sitting on these steps I'm on the Mississippi looking out at Algiers. The only reason I know this exists because of Interview with the Vampire.
Right.
And then I found I read the book after having this great experience now and I'm like, oh. There was some heavy lifting was made personally for me.
Yeah.
The TV show that when I got back to the source material, and I was like, I like the pieces that were kept.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
With that, I want to take a quick break, and then we'll head into some of the sort of cultural import of Interview with the Vampire. We'll be right back.
This message comes from Wayfair. With the holidays approaching, you may want to personalize your home, and Wayfair is the place. Find endless inspiration for every space and budget. Free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff. Seasonal must-haves, from furniture and holiday decor to appliances and cookware, all in one place. Get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. This message comes from AT&T. There's nothing like knowing someone's in your corner, especially when it really counts. Like when your neighbor shovels your driveway after a snowstorm, or your friend saves you the last slice of pizza. AT&T has connectivity you can depend on, or they'll proactively make it right. That's the AT&T Guarantee. Terms and conditions apply. Visit att.com/guarantee to learn more. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
This message is sponsored by DSW, the birthplace of the humble brag. Full of all kinds of shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. And when there are never-ending options for every style, mood, occasion, and budget, there is unlimited freedom to play. And that's something to brag about. So go ahead, stock up on fresh sneakers from your favorite brands. Or try those boots you always secretly knew you could pull off. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW. Let them surprise you.
We're back. Before the break, we talked about some of our personal connections to Interview with the Vampire. And I want to make my sort of cultural case for the book, but let's just run through some quick bio for Anne Rice. Born Howard Allen Francis in 1941, she apparently chose the name Anne, which is a choice, a decision.
With an E.
Yeah, I think that's solid.
Yeah.
I'm still pro Howard. I'm still pro girl Howard.
Yeah. I mean, Parker and Barrie are pro that. To be clear.
Yeah. And then in 1972, Anne's 5-year-old daughter, Michelle, died of leukemia. And this was, I think, kind of instrumental in the creation of this book. I think you can read a lot into the character of Claudia, who's, like I said, the 5-year-old vampire girl who's sort of encased in amber in the loss of her child. Rice was born and raised in New Orleans, which is a lot of spooky stuff going on. spooky stuff going on in there. And yeah, I guess what would you say? This book was published in 1976. So we're dealing with, everything that has to offer post-Vietnam, that whatever was going on in America at the time.
Yep.
All of that. That's a different Ken Burns documentary. I want to say in the 80s, she was on NPR promoting the Vampire Lestat. And she did this interview. And I just want to play you this question and answer.
Why is there this erotic allure of the vampire in your books and in so much of the vampire stories?
Well, I think the vampire is inherently an erotic image. I suspect that it's an echo down through the centuries of the old lusty gods that are all gone. I mean, religion for thousands of years included passionate, sensuous gods and goddesses, and we don't have them now. They're gone from our tradition, but the vampire lingers in the popular imagination. This, this mythical creature that seduces you, puts his arms around you, bends and kisses your throat, and kills you, but there's great rapture. It's very sensuous.
There's great rapture. It's
A
very
word.
sensuous.
Talk that talking.
Here's my thinking, is that, like, it didn't have to be that way, right? We could have had this perception of a vampire that was, like, more gross, more grody, less horny, right? But because she saw inherent eroticism in the story of the vampire, we've sort of been living with, like, the horny vampire since this book came out, sort of permanently. Like,
Dracula.
No, I know, but
Dracula is
I'm
so
saying-
dirty, guys.
I'm saying she took that and was like, this is it. She sort of steered the car. Dracula's horned up. I think she just, like, cemented that perception.
I think for me, I would say as importantly, what she did is she gave, like, there was no sad boy vampire until Anne Rice. There was no, they were like sexy evil monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she made them like philosophical, complex, tortured anti-heroes. And I mean, we love a tortured anti-hero.
There's no angel from Joss Whedon's Buffy.
The Vampire Slayer.
There's no, I don't know, virtue signaling emo boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that she does kind of create this more the sensitive vampire in an interesting way. I don't know.
He wants to bite you, but he can't.
At a certain point, just do it.
Right, you don't get Edward, I think. I mean, is maybe more importantly,
Yeah.
right?
Edward being the vampire from
And
Twilight.
Yeah, I'm sort of like out of my depth in Twilight. So he was like a sad boy.
Yeah.
How old are you?
17.
How long have you been 17?
A while.
He was a sad boy who like the vampires in Twilight, which, okay.
Does Edward eat people?
No, he's like a vegetarian. He shimmers in the sunlight. It's like a whole thing. Sadly enough, I did read all of those books when they came out.
Yeah. I want to be part of the discourse.
It was a different time. Robert Pattinson had just been created. And I was like, I'm going to read all these books. And I was like, oh, these books are great. There's a lot of, like, pseudo-racist, very
Also,
conservative
sex is
politics.
bad for you.
Sex is
Girls
bad.
don't have sex. Don't have a baby. Don't do anything fun.
The hottest girl isn't like a maxi khaki skirt.
Oh, I know. It's a very,
Like the indigenous people are somehow like beasts. And it's like, oh, this isn't great. I will give Anne Rice that credit. She's not doing that in this. I mean, we had different problems with like, the whole slave owner situation
Yeah.
in the book, which if you haven't read the book, Louis is owns a plantation and has a bunch of slaves, which is like, I don't know what it is about that era of the 70s that was really into the antebellum South. I can feel like some 14-year-old girl that's going to read this now and like try to cancel people and be like, I can't believe Louis owned slaves. And I'm like, you know what? Valid.
That's fair.
And
And the thing that they left behind in the
TV show, he's like, oh, now he's black, but also he's like a pimp.
Yeah, he owns like a whorehouse.
He owns a brothel.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a businessman.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like some young girl who wants to see some boys love on each other is going to read this book and be like, this is not what I've been sold a false bill of goods. I don't understand what this book is about. I thought there was going to be smooching.
Boys kissing. Nope.
Boys kissing. That's what even grown Parker is like. I thought the boys would kiss. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
No, in retrospect, I was disappointed too.
Okay, I will say though, this is my second sort of like pro for this book. It does, and why I was so jazzed earlier, compared to contemporary romance, which I've tried my best to sort of keep up with. I think even though there is no actual smooching, nothing's getting like touched or whatever, this is hornier than what counts as quote unquote like spicy today, I feel like.
I don't know. Read those first couple of Outlander books.
But like, also, I mean, read any romantasy at all. Like,
that's what I think the romantasy is based around the sex as action set piece, right?
Yeah.
And it delivers them like here. But the ones that I've read, right, like don't do the simmering as well. They like explode. Right?
Andrew, you've got to open your heart.
Yeah.
Listen, I've read a lot more books about like minotaurs and monsters, doing stuff for my job than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Support public media, okay?
Yeah,
Listen.
exactly. Do that.
Support public media.
However you need to.
Yeah, because I didn't need to be reading these books. But they're somewhat gratuitous. They're like titillating, but they're not
I agree.
erotic.
Actually,
Yeah.
I hear
don't know.
you.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
She wrote erotica, right?
Garden variety BDSM. Here's the thing. They're not even very interesting BDSM. There's just a ton of spanking. But in any case, she was exploring a lot of different modes of freedom, right?
Yeah.
Freedom because you're a blood-sucking monster that has immortality. Freedom because you have, like, given up responsibility in your sexual life. Freedom because you have written Exit to Eden and had no one edit it. Whatever the freedom is, she is clearly exploring all of that and was really productive. I mean, she's like a really prolific writer, right?
Yeah, that's sort of the theme of this book, right? It's like vampiry as liberation, right? Is that?
I mean, it's yes and no, because there's this. Louis is very much like, this is what I thought it was going to be. And this is actually, the reality of it is it's painful. It's very existential.
It's boring.
It's boring. And he tells this entire story hoping to deter from the idea of vampirism. And the boy, the journalist, is immediately like, okay, well, how do I become a vampire? Like, can get his address? Like, where's Lestat? How can I make this happen for me?
Yeah.
And so, like, I know that as a narrative construct, it's to, like, lead to the next book.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, this idea of, he thought that he was doing, like, a PSA. This whole book is a PSA of, like, vampirism, being a vampire is not all it's cracked up to be, and I don't know if I would do it again if I had the choice.
I mean, it doesn't seem like he would do anything again if he had the choice. So he's very passive. But I think one of the things that's sort of interesting about his particular dislike of this freedom or whatever is that she is more using the idea of the vampire to examine the worst parts of humans as opposed to exploring the loss of humanity as a result of being a monster. That's a kind of interesting idea to play with, right?
One of the segments that I found really interesting in the book is there's this debate that's happening between Lestat and Louis, where Lestat is calling Louis out and being like, you're sacrificing being a vampire to basically to lean in toward this human mindset. And Louis is like, no, becoming a vampire has made me more in touch with humans. And this is back and forth. And that was the only time that I was like, you know what, Louis, you're right. You're onto something.
Right. You had to become a vampire to notice that you owned slaves.
Yeah.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
It is weird though, right? It's like he's suddenly so good because he's a vampire. It's like, you did not notice what your human life was about?
No, I had to only come out at night for that to finally click.
It's tough. It's tough. But it's also, I mean, that is the thing, right, about the whole myth in general. It's like, what are you going to do with your time? And Louis is going to not do much. Lestat's doing something with it, right? Angel is trying to, from other sad boy vampires are trying to apologize for their sins. They're trying to redo. They're trying to make up for the things they did. But she really gave us that dichotomy in a way that was more so than any other, I think, up until that point.
Essentially, this book spans 200 years of a life. And it's like, well, what has Louis done with it is the question that I had at the end. Meanwhile, Lestat is out here. Like, I went to see Queen of the Damned as a kid, so I essentially know what Lestat's been up to.
Yeah.
But my thing the whole time was like, well, now what? So what are you going to do? And I feel like no one has asked him that. And I'm sure whatever, like 12, 13, 14, 15, a million books that have come out, does that get answered?
All right, I want to put a pin in that. I'm going to take a quick break because I have some thoughts about what Louis learned, but we'll be back in a bit.
This message comes from Charles Schwab. When it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices, like full-service wealth management and advice when you need it. You can also invest on your own and trade on Thinkorswim. Visit schwab.com to learn more. This message comes from Amazon Business. With smart business buying, get everything you need to grow in one familiar place, from office supplies to IT essentials and maintenance tools. Ready to bring your visions to life? Learn how at amazonbusiness.com.
All right, we're back. One bit about this book that I didn't expect, right? I knew going in it was going to be a horny, kind of queer vampire book. Mm-hmm. It's an all-timer girl dad book.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Say more!
As a girl dad, I hate that term, but I'll just stick with me. There's this transformation where, like, Parker, like you'd mentioned, he's very, all right, Claudia, I'll let you do whatever. Spoilers for the middle of the book. You're going to kill Lestat? I don't think it's a good idea, but sure. Whatever you want, princess. You know,
how else will she learn?
Yeah, sort of that kind of vibe, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the middle or towards the end of the book, when they're in Paris, when they meet Armand, who's like leading this Parisian vampire troupe or whatever, right? I think before Louis and Armand sort of define their relationship and like start clicking with each other, there's this moment where Lestat realizes that Claudia and Armand are into something deeper than Louis is, right? They don't have whatever hang up that Louis has about killing people. And he realizes that this, for lack of a better term, this daughter of his has learned something and is different from him. And I think in that moment kind of like accepts that and, you know, has to like let her go. And the things happen at the end that sort of like deviate from that. But I thought that was like an oddly profound and beautiful moment.
It's lovely. I agree with you. I think there's that moment where it's like, okay, well, this happens with your kids. Like, oh, your values are your own. Yeah. You know, like you own them. And I agree. I love that. And but just to even take it further, when they go to Paris and Armand comes on the scene, the sort of like, oh no, daddy's got a new boyfriend. Yeah. Part of it is really heartbreaking because, you know, Armand is secretly telepathically saying, you gotta leave Louis. You gotta leave my boy alone. Yeah. And that is actually really heartbreaking. And so the sort of the familyness of that and that, I agree with you, is one of the strongest. The dysfunctional family stuff, I think may be the strongest allegory of the book.
And there's also the sex stuff too, where Claudia is trapped in the body of a 5-year-old girl, and she grows up or she ages, and she knows that she is in the body of a child, and she's frustrated with it. And Louis is like, "Here's another doll."
Right.
Like, my guy, I'm 50.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
How much older did they make Claudia in the show?
14. It ain't much.
I mean,
it's enough. I mean, it's significant.
It's enough that, like, maybe
it's less icky.
Yeah, it's still illegal.
It's still illegal
because in the movie, Kirsten Dunst is like
a child, like 11 years old,
and they're clearly struggling with that.
Yeah. Know? And there's some couple of kisses in the movie that I was like, eat it. No, thank you. But there's still, even in the book, it's like, I understand the girl dad stuff, but like her two dads kind of suck.
Yeah.
And they realize too late that they have like for decades have mistreated this girl. It's basically like, we had a kid to save the marriage.
Yep.
And then we just kind of like, you know, treated her like an obstacle this whole time. And now now that she's dead, the ending scene when they kind of like come together and realize they were like bad parents.
Yeah.
Not bad. Or like they maybe
I think
not
we
bad
can say
parents.
they were bad parents.
But then there's a part of me that's like, this is Anne Rice trying to process in a way like the grief of losing her daughter, and is Anne Rice Louis, and she's trying to make amends for what happened to her child, and like is in some ways is her like her husband Lestat, and they're trying to just like unpack the loss and like whether the responsibilities as parents or like things they couldn't control.
Well, also remember her mother was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So she is also
Anne Rice's mom.
Yes.
Anne Rice's mom.
Beloved mother, very close. But, you know, she was also trying to sort of talk about difficult parents trying to do the best under circumstances that may be out of their control.
Yeah.
You know, and that is actually another, you know, I mean, she does this in so many ways. Also, later on when Lestat is able to save his mother by making her a vampire is another way that she's processing the grief of losing her own mother. She uses this for so many different sort of parent-child relationships.
I tell you, I guess these books are cheaper than therapy. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, this is nice.
But what you're describing with the show is taking all of those things, the parenthood, the whatever, but now we've like done it in the context of power and social position. And, you know, they took her little seed and they grew it into a beautiful flower.
As a fan of like the books, right? The book series, do these themes sort of persist throughout? Like I know in the Vampire Lestat, he's like a rock star, but is he also like an absent father? Like, what's the like?
He's really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Lestat is the best narrator that she has, and she liked him the best. I mean, she says this in like a lot of, you know, I get it. You know, there are a lot of books that are slow in this series. When it intersects with the Mayfair Witches, which is her other series, some of them are good, some of them are not. But the first 4, which are really the sort of Lestat ones, and those ones are really, really fun because he's actually like playing with the idea of, you know, being like liberated truly as opposed to just being sad.
Yeah.
They get better. They really do. Interview is world building.
All these years now, how do we think about Anne Rice's sort of like literary stature? Is she Stephen King in that sort of genre? I don't think that we think of her in placing this, and I hate using this term, in the sort of like literary landscape, right? She's definitely writing like pulp or something like that.
Yeah.
It's popular fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I think what she has done, I don't want to take away the fact that she has written, she made a universe that people like absolutely love.
Yeah.
And that she made a work of gothic fiction that experimented with good and evil and sex, power dynamics, and that is real. So I don't want to take away, but I also, you know, when you talk about Stephen King, who I absolutely consider literary in some ways. You know, she was, you know, yes, she is a Stephen King. She is a Danielle Steele, who is also part of popular fiction. She, a Dan Brown, you know, who brought ideas about religion and ideas about death and ideas about sex into the mainstream, and people had a place to go for that they didn't.
Yeah, I feel like for me, she rests comfortably between like V.C. Andrews and Stephen King. There is, I think of like my mom in the supermarket, like I'm going to grab like V.C. Andrews' Dawn from like by the M&Ms, and then I'm going to read that, and then you're not allowed to read this until you're an adult, and then I sneak and read it.
Right.
And that's where I feel like Anne Rice lives in my brain.
I think Anne Rice is in a different category.
Yeah.
You know you're dealing with and partly because they're not directed, you know, V.C. Andrews was directed at young girls, right?
That's real.
This is directed at a wider array of humanity, which is another thing about it that's great, actually.
All right, we're going to take another break, but when we're back, we're going to talk about why Interview with the Vampire should be read today. Stick around.
Support for this podcast and the following message come from Betterment. Start investing in a better future. Whether it's saving for today or building wealth for tomorrow, Betterment helps people and small businesses put their money to work by automating to make saving simpler, optimizing to make investing smarter, and building innovative technology backed by financial experts. So be invested in yourself. Be invested in your business. Be invested in better with Betterment at Betterment.com. Investing involves risk. Performance not guaranteed.
All right, last question, Barrie. Do you think this book is worth reading today?
I should say, now that we've talked about it, I feel a little bit differently because normally
were you nay coming into the studio?
I was nay coming into the studio. You know, like you don't need to. You need to know that it exists. It's good that it's part of the popular culture. It's great that it was written. But I actually, you know, as we've talked about it, in particular, your girl dad observation, I will say, is one that I think is really interesting. Yeah. And I also think that given there is apparently an incredibly high quality, wonderful series that is taking some of these ideas and improving them.
Yeah.
I think as a companion to how far we've come, I think that might be an interesting project.
Great. Yeah, I think I like this book quite a bit. I thought it was
Love
so much
that you
fun.
liked it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, I respect it for what it was and what it is.
Okay. Nice. I think that's fair. That's a diplomatic
That's
answer.
nice.
All right, let's end with, if you like this, read that. Do you guys have any?
So a couple different things. So we talked about how the idea of the myth of the vampire does a couple different things. And so if you want to get to vampires as harbingers of disease, which that's part of the birth of the idea of the vampire. I would say The Passage and the subsequent books by Justin Cronin are great. And that's a very set in today's world. There's no mention of what a vampire, but the virus makes you a bloodsucker. It sort of treads on a zombie thing. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would go The Passage. I think it's great.
Yeah, wow.
If you love
Sounds good.
romantasy, you know, like you're coming from Sarah J. Maas, you're coming from Fourth Wing. Crowns of Nyaxia, the Carissa Broadbent series, is great. And the sex is wonderful. Wait, I want to say that in a different way. I want to come back to that.
She said what she said.
Yeah.
If you love romantasy, the Meredith Ann Pierce series, The Dark Angel, and this is, by the way, I would say absolutely appropriate for 14, 15, is so good. And The Dark Angel is essentially a vampire character. He is hot. It's a wonderful trilogy. If you are in middle school, Bunnicula.
Oh, yeah.
If you like Stephen King, Salem's Lot.
Okay.
Listen, you cannot get away from the vampires,
I tell you,
people.
we're in vampire mode. Yeah.
I love it. I got you.
Nice.
I do.
I only got one.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
But I happen to know you have the best one.
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
I
What's
do have
yours?
the best
Yeah.
one. Okay, if you're reading Interview with the Vampire and all of your empathy and heart goes towards Claudia, I highly suggest you read Fledgling by Octavia Butler, which is about like a young vampire. It turns out she's like 50 something.
yeah.
And it's like a specific like genetic vampire species. And she's trying to like figure out who she is and like why are people against her. It's like if Claudia had more agency.
Yes.
So I would highly recommend reading Fledgling by Octavia Butler.
So mine is Agustina Basterrica's Tender as the Flesh. It was big. It popped off, it was just translated and thinking like 2020 and it popped off here. It's about a cannibalism world where they're using like people as meat, and it's about a guy who works in a slaughterhouse. And I think it's, if you like, which I don't think either of you are, if you like the part of this book that's like, I'm bad. Am I bad? Is what I'm doing, guys, is what I'm doing wrong? Is this, sort of like brooding male character, I think is the book for you. All right, well, Barrie, thank you so much. This was tons of fun.
It really was.
Yeah. And now's the time for our favorite segment, Phone a Fan, where we'll hear from fans far and wide.
This week, we ask you, our dear listeners and readers, why you think vampires haven't left our culture and why this story. Here's what y'all said.
Hi, this is Leslie calling. I first read the Anne Rice books, The Interview with the Vampire series, when I was 19. And the thing that really intrigued me was the psychological impact of living forever and the concept that everything changes, everything dies, and yet there's this one being in the world that remains unchanging. And how does it affect that person psychologically? And it's also the concept that we live in this world that's normal and crazy, but underneath it is an alternate world that with beings that live just under the surface.
My name is Paul Frankel. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I probably first read Anne Rice in the late 70s. But why has the Interview with the Vampire endured? I mean, the characters are tragically heroic in some ways. They have great adventures in a magical city like New Orleans. Anne Rice is a great storyteller about these flawed people fighting good and evil inclinations and being supremely cool.
And if you're reading along with us this season, tell us your thoughts. You can give us a ring at 202-403-0377 or drop us a line at booklove@npr.org. You might hear yourself on an upcoming episode. And that's the show. This episode was produced by Cher Vincent and edited by Megan Sullivan.
Engineering support this week from Jimmy Keeley, and our executive producer is Yolanda Sanguini.
And if you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to help more folks find the show. Thank you for listening to Books We've Loved from NPR. We'll see you next time.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Pete and Jerry's Eggs, inviting you to tag along with one of their organic, pasture-raised hens as she heads out for her day in the pasture. She and her friends start to roam and forage, hunting for tasty organic snacks. And with 108 square feet per hen, there's plenty of space for everyone. Under the open sky, they can hear songbirds nesting in the trees. They bask in the sounds of nature as they prepare to lay their rich, delicious eggs. And when the sun starts to set, the crickets begin to sing. Time to catch one last squiggly snack before bedtime. To learn more about Pete and Jerry's organic pasture-raised eggs and the certified humane farms where their hens roam, visit peteandjerrys.com.